It's 8 minutes past 6. Now to a story which is hard to hear, if I'm honest with you, but a family from Burnley are hoping to raise funds for the life-saving treatment of their 4-year-old daughter who's been diagnosed with a rare aggressive cancer. Maysaa was diagnosed with neuroblastoma, a childhood cancer that has a 40 to 50% chance of survival. Well, joining me is Maysaa's dad, Maysaa Yaqub. Welcome to the program, Osama.
Hi, Philip. Thanks for having me.
Now, first of all, how is Maysaa doing at the moment?
At the moment, she is in recovery from a round of chemotherapy, a high-dose round of chemotherapy and stem cell transplant that happened in late August. She was in hospital for quite some time, around about 38 days. And so right now she's in recovery, really just being nursed back to health for the next battle, the next round of treatment.
Right. Now, take us back to the beginning. When did you realise something was wrong with Maysaa? During lockdown, I believe.
That's right, yes. We noticed that she'd become quite clingy and her appetite wasn't great. And we initially put that down to really just the nature of the lockdown. And having potty trained her and weaned her off milk by this point, we thought it was a combination of those three things that was a factor in her behavior. But when we started then to notice that her lips began to turn blue and she had a slight protrusion under her left rib, we decided to make an appointment with the GP and took her in for that. At that point, she was initially referred to a cardiologist, but we weren't really happy with the outcome of the appointment. So that evening, we took her to the A&E, where they took note of the protrusion and sent us into to Blackburn, where ultrasounds were done, and we were told that a mass resembling a tumour had been discovered, and so that really was the turning point for everything, really.
Yeah, and I mean, news like that is shocking to hear when you hear from other family members and friends when you hear about cancer. But in terms of yourself and being mum and dad, and how did the family take the news?
Well, initially I think doctors tend to have a habit of being slightly vague about what they're describing, and so initially the penny hadn't dropped. But once I understood what I was being told, my whole world was rocked. I just couldn't believe that this was happening, and the number of times we've all heard people say, this is something that happens to someone else. It's hard to describe how even that concept hits home. And my wife wasn't present at the time that I was being informed, but neither of us could really contain ourselves and our emotions. And it's just had a massive impact on every facet of our life at the moment. It really has.
And how is the family coping at the moment?
Right now, we're just trying to get through each day, one step at a time. My children have only really just become aware of the nature of my daughter's illness. We have 2 older sons, and they weren't fully aware. They are now, and they're coming to terms with it. But there's everything is chaotic and filled with turmoil. There's just something new every day. We're going to the hospital on countless occasions for a fever that can't be ignored because she's immunosuppressed, and it's very difficult to adapt when the situation is ever changing.
And Summer, tell us a little bit more about this particular type of cancer, neuroblastoma.
Yes. From my understanding, it is a cancer that affects the nervous system, and if you can imagine the way that nerves grow and are formed, this particular cancer can form in similar ways, and so as a result can be very pernicious and difficult to fight. It is rare and only usually happens within children between the ages from 0 up to 5. It can happen later on, but rarely beyond the age of 10, and the chances of survival from it can be quite poor, and if it returns, the chances are even worse, unfortunately.
Now, Maysaa has undergone some treatment, so chemotherapy, but more treatment is needed, isn't it? So tell us about that.
Yes. So once Maysaa's treatment finishes here, there is a clinical trial in America that has been going for some time, and it helps to reduce the chances of the cancer returning. As hard as this is for me to think about or talk about, sadly, if the cancer returns, the chances of survival are poor. High-risk neuroblastoma carries a high chance of returning. So we want Maysaa to receive this treatment as soon as possible when her treatment in the UK ends, in order to give her the best chance of survival.
And this treatment isn't available here in the UK?
It is only available in the US at the moment, and at quite considerable cost.
Right. And how much are we talking about here?
It can range from between 90 up to the hundreds of thousands, multiple hundreds of thousands.
Right. Okay. Now, you're working along with the charity Solving Kids Cancer. And so tell us, how are they helping you guys?
Well, Solving Kids Cancer have been great. They specialize in neuroblastoma and helping families in raising funds for treatments such as this particular trial. They have assisted us in, just general support and advice, but also they've given us a platform with which we can raise funds in a manner that is trustworthy, and hopefully with their help we will be able to raise those funds. They've really been a great help in setting up a lot of the platforms that will allow us to raise those funds and to raise awareness essentially of this really pernicious disease.
Yeah, and I suppose that's it, isn't it? It's raising awareness, and raising awareness within communities in particular who perhaps don't see, certain telltale signs and may think it's something else. And, once you see something, it's, the case of, persevering and making sure you see your GP and specialists in order to get that diagnosis. But the communities in Lancashire and indeed Greater Manchester can be very helpful. Have you received a lot of support from the community?
Gosh, I mean, I just want to say a huge thank you to every single person that has liked, shared, and donated to Maysaa's fight. I just don't have the words to say how thankful we are for every penny that has been raised so far. There's been a real outpouring of support, and every comment, every message we receive is so appreciated and is giving us that push to keep going, even on the hard days. We've up to this point we've raised just above the £7,000 mark, and we only began on Thursday evening, and so it's been really touching and heartwarming to see how the communities here and further afield have responded. It really has.
Okay, and finally then, Osama, if anyone wants to help, how can they get in touch?
The simplest way is in order to donate and assist in Maysaa's campaign is you can simply search for Maysaa v Neuroblastoma on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. That's Maysaa, Maysaa v Neuroblastoma on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. You'll find all the ways you can that are available to help in the campaign, and of course donate as well.
Okay, well, Osama, thank you very much for joining us tonight and sharing your story, as well as hard as it can be and hard as it is to speak about it, certainly when you're talking about children. And if you've got children, when they have a cough or a cold or any other little illness, how panicky we get as parents. And obviously you're going through a lot, so we wish you all the best, and hopefully you reach your target, and do let us know. Okay, and we'll keep in touch. Osama, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you. That's Maysaa Yaqub there, sharing his story about his 4-year-old daughter, Maysaa. And of course, you can also visit solvingkidscancer.org, where they also have a pager, I believe, as well, if you want to help.